Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Races Driving League for Season 19, Round 11 of the Championship. Welcome to the ever-chaotic Red Bull Ring for the Austrian Grand Prix. I'm your host, Zach RC, here to take you through what should be another exciting 2 hours or so of brilliant RDL action. And of course, we are without... actually, this is news to everyone here. We are without a few drivers in tonight's race for the minute. Landau will be joining us during qualifying, but Grumio is not here in tonight's race. The driver has taken 8 from 10 wins this season, not present, so we're almost guaranteed to have potentially a fresh winner, provided that Dan or Pope do not win. Of course, those are the only other 2 drivers to acquire victories this season, and here is one of those drivers perhaps looking for his first win of the campaign and first win in quite a while, and that would be Imri driving for Red Bull. Of course, Imri had a bit of a tough hand in last week's race in Canada, caught up in an instant on a safety car restart. Just found himself with nowhere to go. With the chaos that occurred in that restart, we had both penalties applied post-race for both EJ and the 10th Cannon for gaining places illegally during that safety car restarts. Both of them were penalised. 10th, though, still came away with some points. EJ did not. Both drivers are in the field tonight and keen to make an impression, keen to get some more points on the board for their respective teams. So 10th, their first point. 10th, they're currently in P18, first point on the board. 1 point this season. Obviously, that goes towards Red Bull's tally. So 89 points between current drivers takes them to 113 in all. Of course, Imri scored the bulk of those points. 88 points to his name. Is still gunning for that first win since Season 16. Could today be the day, potentially, as he rounds the last corner. In the last week, he's coming to his stride. Of course, pole last week. Swept all 3 sessions in qualifying. Can he do it again? Kicking things on now. On the run towards Turn 1. Up the very short run. Of course, one of the shortest circuits on the calendar. Only 10 corners here at the Red Bull Ring, and often always a bull ring in terms of chaos in more than one sense of the word. Up the hill now, through turns 2, up toward turn 3, the steep right-hander, 16.0 in his first sector, with a lock-up there going towards turn 3. Of course, 3 DRS zones appearing one after the other here at this circuit. One down the main straight towards turn 1, one up the hill towards turn 3, and this third one here going down towards turn number 4. And again, he's struggling to slow the car down here. So makes its way through turn 5 and into 6 now. Of course, the second split will occur going in towards turn 7. So this next corner here, this next left-hander. 44.7 for Imri. Yellow flag already in the last sector. That's one of the cars backed up, I believe. That is one of the RBs out on the circuit. That would be Brashman. Courtney Goblin has disconnected. Last corner here for Imri, and last week's pole sitter with the attempt to try and go back-to-back. Last corner, DRS in play up towards the line. It's a 1 minute 4 point with 194. It's not a bad start there, but of course, so he'll be here with the yardstick for the majority of the front runners here when they make their way out onto the circuit. As of right now, we've got EJ, Brashman, and Ericsson all on the circuit. And we're awaiting the next few. Landlord set to join us during qualifying, as I said, but no Grumio. I'm being told by the Discord that we might be getting some rain later on in qualifying. We're looking at rain potentially in Q3, so keep an eye out for that. Whether we will get any sort of dry running during that session, yet to be confirmed. Whether the conditions will perhaps change during qualifying, as you see Che emerge onto the circuit. Che stuck with a drive-through penalty in last week's Grand Prix in Canada. Had a tough race in general. But in the end, fought back to come home inside the points paying places. So Che, 3rd place in the standings, but behind his teammate here. Dan, 2nd place to Grumio by 76 points. Grumio scored 218 from the season so far. Dan with 142. So, obviously, Grumio's pulled a fair bit of a lead here. But if he does end up missing a lot of races, then we could find ourselves looking at a slightly closer picture come later on in the campaign. Of course, next week we are looking at the halfway stage of the campaign. And that race being the Belgian Grand Prix, is of course what would normally be the British Grand Prix in terms of regular calendar length, but obviously the reverse group finale being set to Silverstone Reverse this season. So looking at Silverstone hosting the last round instead of round 12, so we'll go to Belgium next week. Ericsson towards the line, 2nd time on the board. 1 minute 5.1, and was a second off Imri. So improvements need to be done for the Sauber driver. As behind him, you can see Obsessed Gamer reserving in tonight for Websy. Not yet on the circuit. Starting to see a few more cars emerge here. AT, the only McLaren here at the minute. Whether we'll see Landlord in Q1, not too sure, as Dan starts his first lap. Of course, Dan, with the intentions to try and take victory in the last race that Grumio didn't take part in. That was, of course, Monaco, the 100% race just a few weeks ago. Brashman now P2, EJ P3, so a few more cars coming in and setting lap times. Let's see what Dan's got over the course of his first lap. Down the hill towards turn 4, looking for a clean entry. Yellow flag's in behind. That's one of the RBs backing off, which I believe is Brashman after his lap. Again, yellow flag, I think that's Ericsson, who may have just called it quits on his lap. Yes, it is. And Che goes fastest, 1 minute 4.018, and Dan 44.5. So this top 3 looking mighty close as it was last week. And Che, of course, has taken the most poles this season, I believe, with 3. Dan invalidating there at turn 9, and track limits obviously just as much of a problem here as they are in real life. Dan with 1 minute 4.4, which would have been enough for 3rd fastest. But invalidating there in the closing 2 corners, and that costing him his potential spot set in Q2. As of right now, only looking at losing 3 cars, potentially 4 should Landlord join us. Only 6 cars can be set lap time so far. Here's Curtis in the Ferrari. Curtis, 16 points in the first 10 rounds this season. Ferrari currently setting 5 points back from Aston Martin in P9, so the fight at the bottom of the table is still quite close. 10 points covering the bottom 3. At another 12 up to Kick Sauber in 7th place, as Landlord does indeed join the session. So we're up to 19 cars then. I'm unsure. I don't believe anyone's actually reserving for Grumio, otherwise they'd be here. So it would be just the one Williams tonight. That would be JB. Of course, had the toe of his teammate during Q1 last week in Canada before invalidating the lap at the last corner. So we're looking to try and avoid any mistakes like that. Backing off here to allow HP Cook to go past. Gets a lap time in that Sauber. Of course, it's been on a bit of a tear recently, with a fantastic finish last time out in Canada, bringing home the points for Sauber. It currently puts him into P9 in the championship, 32 points to his name. 10 points clear of Ethan in P10. Ethan, who is on the grid this week, as well as his teammate PJ. Both Astons there. Currently P8. They've got 2 teams in Ferrari and RB, both breathing down their necks. As much as they try and press on and try and chase down these 2 Saubers. Oh, HP Cook goes wide there, leaving turn 10. 1 minute 4.3, and he's up there. That would have been a time to go, again, to go 3rd fastest. Pope's currently in 3rd place. 1 minute 4.5, of course, wasn't here last week. But has returned, perhaps eager to try and seal his 2nd win of the season. Ben Nyabi. Of course, he's made a solid return to the league in the last few weeks. Currently sits in P14. So joined us midway through the championship. He scored 12 points thus far. RB still bottom there. Alvar having just scored 6 from this campaign as it stands. Alvar not here this week. Brashman is reserving his place as Ben goes 8th fastest there. Kotz invalidated his lap here as he rounds the last few corners. HP Cook, I think, not going again. 10th coming towards the line. And 10th in her 2nd race as a full-time driver since her return into P10 there. Only faster than JB's, perhaps a potential concern. And the question will be there in terms of pit entry, as has been the last few seasons. Just given how unorthodox Austria's pit entry is compared to other circuits. We'll see Dan go past it now there. Of course, the pit entry sort of starts on the circuit, on the inside lane. As Dan comes through, starts next lap. Imi retires, so safe there in P2, likely going through. I can't see a scenario in which he doesn't. Landlord's on the circuit now, and starts his first lap in behind Dan. AT, same thing. End of the first sector for the guy currently sitting in 2nd place in the standings. 15.8 is the time in Sector 1. And down towards turn 4. Dan gunning for his 2nd win of the season. And 44.9, which is faster than his last run. So there's looking like a potential fastest time on the board here. HB Cook goes into 6th place. Ericsson's there in 5th, so Sauber's looking good here early on. As are Ferrari, P7, P8. But Haas may go P1, P2 as well. As Dan comes towards the line. He won't. We'll be at 4.6 at the end. Brashman there, P5. Keep an eye on him. Obviously, just a reserve. Can't score points, but sure would like to get a good result. Tim Cannon not improving. She still sits there. 45.7. Her second consecutive 3/10 down on her previous effort. AT letting one of the Ferraris go. That'd be Curtis. Sorry, no, that'd be EJ. Apologies. Cott last corner. Again invalidating here. And a few drivers struggling. 16-1 for Landlord in his first sector. And looking for a tow for his teammate. That's why AT was slowing up. Che retiring. Was satisfied with this time. Then 1 minute 4.018. And AT sacrificing his lap time for his teammate. And as Landlord goes through into turn 6. Of course, the defending race winner here, in quite remarkable circumstances from last season, acquired a late 3-second penalty, but his teammate, Grumio, sacrificed the lead to hold the pack up behind because there was a big train developing, allowing Landlord to gain those 3 seconds in 3 laps and win the race. Up towards the line as Landlord seeks his first win of the campaign. It's P9 for him. Still sits in 5th place in the standings, but only 3 points behind Imri. And Imri himself simultaneously 13 points back from Che. So the fight for 3rd place is still very much on in the Drivers' Championship. Cott into the pit lane here. Struggles for Cott on his first few runs. But that's the Martin jet set times, but PJ set to change that. It's both in there, as I say, P8 in the Constructors' Championship. 6 points for PJ this season. And 22 for Ethan. 44.9 for PJ. This could be a good lap. If he can keep it strung together, these last few corners could be on for a solid lap time as he enters the last few turns. And keeping the car on the white lines out of turn 10 towards the line. Charging up now. 1 minute 4.8. That's enough for 8th place for PJ. So just waiting on 4 cars now. AT, Cott, Ethan and Courtney Goblin. All yet to put their lap times in. As JB currently the last car going through and the slowest time so far. There's 5 minutes to go in Q1. So there is time for everyone to go out for at least one more run should they feel it necessary. JB with the slide there, leaving turn 1. And JB looking here for a strong, solid lap. Improving there by 800 to almost 9. Into turn 3. And down towards turn 4 again. And sliding there, going through turn 4 and towards 5. Oh, sliding again. JB struggling here, but still improving by a 100th of a second. Dan retiring. I think you see Pope or Courtney Goblin, one of the 2 Mercedes cars. Sat there wide at turn number 7 as JB rounds the last corner. And backing off. So a tough lap there for JB. And this is a worry for the Williams driver. Of course, it's the 1 car for Williams in this race. It's Courtney Goblin, 45.7, I think I saw in the 2nd sector there. I believe Landlord, I'm being told Landlord's still on his pad. I think the wheel for him could be a concern again. As Courtney Goblin rounds the last few corners here, looking at 1 minute 5. 1 minute 5.4. Slower than JB. And in the bottom 4, going out. As Cott again invalidating here early on. I imagine that turn 1 is likely being the concern point for him. It's AT 44.7 in his 2nd sector. And there should be a lap that puts him around or on par with his teammate, as saw Ben go 7th fastest there in the RB. Splitting those two Sauers. His teammate for tonight, Brashman, still in P5. Curtis retiring in P10. 1 minute 4.2 for AT. And the third place on the board for the McLaren. Fantastic lap there. That'll put JB in the bottom 4 now. And these guys are running out of time. Has JB got enough time to get around for another lap? Got about a minute and a half to get himself in and back on into the pits and back onto the racetrack again. Ethan starting what could be on his last few laps. Caught into turn 1. This time nailing that entry and exit. JB's car being put into the garage here. He's got about a minute or so to get back out on circuit. It's going to be close, I think, if he wants to get another lap time in. Caught on that same set of soft tyres. As Pope retires, P4 for him. Yellow flag again over in the second sector. That's one of these Sauers going slowly. Caught into turn 6. Just needs to keep the car straight and keep the lap valid, and he should be okay. Only him and Ethan yet to sit their laps. And I think JB may have got back out in time. Last few corners for Cott. This could be his last chance to get a lap in. Last corner, there he goes, he's nailed it. Up towards the line, what can he do? Oh, it's only enough for P16 on the board. 1 minute is 5.076. And that will be likely to damage those worn tyres. Oh, around he goes. And spinning off at turn 1. And that will likely see Cott out of qualifying. His teammate Obsessed, currently P15, the last car going through. So unless 10th JB or Cottney can all improve below him, he's safe. But JB on an outlap now and on fresh tyres. He's going to have one shot to get himself into Q2. Just 30 seconds to go. And everyone will likely be on their laps here when we get to the checkered flag. Last corner then for JB. All the battery is there and waiting. We'll keep an eye on him here. There's 15 seconds left. And no one's trying to get onto another lap, I shouldn't think. Oh, way loose there at turn 1. Saves the car, but what might that cost him? Checker flags up. Obsessed comes to the line. Stays P15. If one car below him improves by enough, then he'll be out. Cott is out of qualifying. We know that now. 10th improving by a 10th here. Needs a bit more to get herself in above Obsessed. JB's going into turn 5. Cottney Goblin in the last few corners. I think likely he'll be out here. He was 3 seconds down at the end of sector 2. And he's disconnected there. Last second. Checker flags up for him. JB wide there. And not improving. He needs more. 10th is still improving though. Caught into the pits. He's out. A few more cars left to come through here. JB into the pit lanes. That'll do it for JB. He's out. Can 10th improve her situation? Up towards the line, looking for improvement. And 10th goes P16. Not enough. And that'll do it then. Gutting for 10th, Cott and JB late on. Q1 eliminations for all three of them. They join Cottney Goblin in the bottom 4. Obsessed squeezes through by 36 thousandths of a second. That's just 3.5 hundredths. Tough breaks, those guys in the bottom 4. And Cottney obviously disconnecting and reconnecting. Whether he was on for a solid lap, not too sure. But obviously he was a few seconds down, so I imagine not. But Che topping the session from Imri and AT. Landed their P4. HB Cook P5. Those Saubers look to be on it today by comparison to perhaps other circuits. So keep an eye on those guys. But the field not really covered by much at all there, even all the way down to the last few cars. So Che fastest from Imri and AT. Landor 4th, HB Cook 5th, Pope, Dan, Brashman, Ericsson and Ben round out your top 10. From there it is PJ, EJ, Curtis, Ethan, and Obsessed going through. We lose 10th, Cot, JB, and Cottony, but 1.4 seconds covering the entire field here. And that should be a dead giveaway that we're in for a fantastic race. But first, we've got Q2 and Q3 to deal with. Let's get right back to the action. So into Q2 then, and looking to see who will it be to go through to fight for pole position in Q3 in about 15 minutes time. And just waiting for the first car to emerge out on the circuit. I expect it to be one of those two Red Bulls. Perhaps one of the Haas cars. I'm seeing a Haas emerge. I'm seeing both Haas cars emerging. Dan out first, followed by Che. So several cars going for quick runs here. Down out there, Ericsson, a whole train of cars building here. Almost everyone's going for it. And Imre, I don't know what he's trying to do here. I think he's trying to get around the Mercedes in front of him. It looked as though he's trying to sneak around Pope in the pit lane. No real space for that. And rain in 10 minutes is what I'm being told. The track is looking a lot more overcast here. Rather, the weather's looking a lot more overcast. So everyone is out on the circuit looking for dry running before that rain arrives, because you never really know when the rain could begin. Let's keep an eye on the halos to get a sense as to when about the rain will start. Who is the first cars through? I'll be Che and Dan coming through first as Ericsson looks for clean air. Looks for a bit of a gap to slot into. But Dan across the line. First lap in for the two Haas cars. And wanting to get those in before the rain starts. Yellow flags. Everyone try. Oh, chasing around. And a problem here early on for Che. And that could be devastating. That could be costly. And McLaren there of AT looking for as much tow as he possibly could off of that Haas. He'll have to stop, I should think, to let a good group of cars through to avoid holding it up. He's practically stopped stationary there. Bit of room for him to merge into between the RB and the Sauber there. But as for his teammate Dan, Dan's into the last sector now, 44.4, his second sector. Car on the ragged edge there as he rounds the last two corners up towards the line. To complete that first lap, it'll be a 1 minute 3.8, and the times a lot faster already than they were in Q1 as AT will wobble there into turn 9, but keeps the car under control. Really going for it on those soft tyres. Up towards the line for AT now, 1 minute 4.2. One of the Astons through next. Ethan goes third fastest. PJ now third fastest. EJ now third. Obsessed in fourth there. So Ben take P6. Imre invalidated his first lap, so concern there. So Pope goes second fastest. Loud and AT third and fourth. Brashman P5, so the order quickly established here. As Che goes again, going fresh on this lap. Imre 16.7 in his first sector. Che 15.8. Imre's invalidated there, and that could be trouble. With the rain coming and no guarantee of any more dry running in the next few minutes or so, this could be big trouble then for Imre, for last week's pole sitter, who was looking to struggle back to back. Could the unthinkable happen? Could we see him potentially out in Q2? You never know. Let's give it some time and just see here. But Imre invalidating both of his first two laps. And narrowly getting himself under the pit limit in time. So only HP Cook and Imre not getting laps in. Or rather, HP Cook didn't go for his first run. He's going out here now. He'll have to hope that the rain doesn't start, 'cause we never know when it might go. It might come to us a bit earlier than anticipated. Again, I have to keep an eye on the halo here. AT retiring. Looking set in P5. Landau retiring too. Both McLaren think they're safe. Yellow flags out in front. Those are all clear now. So HP Cook gets back to turn 1. And the sheer amount of speed you see there going through up the hill into the right-hander. The commitment has got to really be there on a lap like this. 15.8 for his first sector. Not a bad start. Again, made the top half in Q1 and looking for more of the same here to get himself into Q3. Just a few cars still left down circuit. I think Imri's going again. Trying to get a lap in before it starts to rain. No sign of it yet, but the track definitely get a lot more overcast. Obsessed retiring, so that's 3 cars in the top 10 who've all called it quits after the 1 lap. Convinced that the rain is coming and they can't do much more in this case. Last corners here for HB Cook, looking for a strong time to essentially cap off his Q2. 1 minute 4.5. Puts him into 7th place. We're on a few cars on the circuit. Both Saubers are out there. You can see Ben on the circuit. Curtis is out there too. And I'm seeing a few cars re-emerging here. One of the Astons, one of the Ferrari, looking like EJ and either Ethan or PJ. That'll be Ethan. Restarts his 2nd lap. Looking to avoid, sorry, rather his 3rd lap, looking to avoid invalidating in this thing. 15.9 his first sector. Into start, so he's got to get himself a time on the board in some way. Turn 4. .46 the 2nd sector. It's looking like a strong lap here. It's looking like a Q3 lap at the very least. Last corner for Imri here, up towards the line. Up into P4. Something's up with the stream, I'm told. HB Cook last corner towards the line. Stays in 8th place. Still no sign of that rain just yet. Looking like it may not impact us till late on. PJ there below the cut line. In P14 right now, but only needs about 2 tenths or so to get himself into Q3, into the top 10. Into the pit lane though, calling an end to his 2nd run. It's getting darker and darker out there. We're definitely looking like that rain. There it is. The rain has emerged. Che retiring here. So I think we'll probably see the last few runs being made and the last few cars coming in. HB Cook is in the pit lane. Oh, curse to the gravel there. So there's 4 minutes to go here, but we're looking like there won't really be any more runs being made here, safe for Ben on the circuits. The track is getting wetter. Okay, we're back. Oh, that was odd. Although, odd thing to come back to. EJ run the car into the wall there, and the track is definitely getting wetter, but it's not looking wet enough for Inters just yet. And as it stands right now, EJ's actually out of session. Oh, as he retires it, there he goes. I think EJ calls it quits, and you join us back at the end of Q2. And a very weird technical concern, I think more likely on YouTube's end than on ours, because everything's been running fine from my end all night, so unsure as what's going on there, but damn fastest, followed by Pope. Che and Imri in 4th place. Imri got himself into the top 10 in the end. Landlord 5th, 18 6th, and Brashman, HB Cook makes another Q3, Ethan P9 and Curtis P10, so a number of teams there with drivers who are lower in the championship getting us into Q3 here. We're losing EJ, Obsessed, Ericsson, PJ, and Ben. Again, 1.2 seconds covering the top 15 there. We're looking at a close Q3. It should be very exciting indeed. Well, the rain has well and truly arrived here. Q3 about to get underway, and the fight for the 11th pole position of the season about to get underway. And with no Grumio on the picture, it's anyone's guess as to who it will be today. It should be very, very exciting indeed. As two Haas cars, the first into the circuit, we're looking at wet weather for the first time in terms of running. But several drivers taking the chance and going for soft tyres while they still can. It should make for a very entertaining start to the session here as we look to see what the pace is like on these softs, but a few cars not taking that risk and going for inters immediately. Ethan's looking at inters, Imri also looking at inters. Imri's going to the circuit there, looking for another pole. So it's all to play for then. Again, the majority of cars looking at soft tyres. Just 2 or 3 looking at inters here. Brashman's still looking at inters on the circuit. Same with Ethan. But Imri's gone for it. So we'll see who comes up with the faster lap time. But once again, Dan will be the first car through here. And we'll see how those softs fare. But eyes will also be in Imri to see how the inters fare. As well as Brashman and Ethan yet to emerge into the racetrack here. I mean, it seems as though they're getting away with it, the soft tyre runners so far. We'll keep an eye out for any yellow flags, should that fail to be the case. I think a yellow down turn 9. Actually, that's Imri on the inters. I think backing off. Perhaps trying to charge some battery up, get his tyres a bit warmer before going for it. Dan down towards turn 4. Imri gets the hammer down once again and starts on what could be potentially the fastest time, depending on how the inters manage compared to the softs. As you see Dan sliding there, leaving turn 4. Whether those slides will sort of play into things. How much time does he lose as a result? It's 48.3 for Dan, second sector. We'll have to see by comparison where Imri comes out. I think Dan should reach the line before Imri reaches the second sector split. Last few corners here. We're looking at 1 minute 3s, 1 minute 4s in Q2. This time the time's a lot slower as Dan rounds the last corner towards the line. Be a 1 minute 10 here. 1 minute, sorry, no, 1 minute 9.9. As Che goes fast, 1 minute 9.6. Where is Imri? What time is he putting in? 47.9. It looks to be faster. So has he made the right call in the inters then? Because if he has, then he'll be emerging with provisional pole here should he get this last few corners right, because invalidated a few times already today. Last corner. Imri keeps the car on the circuit, just DRS in play towards the line. He will go faster, but only by 2/10 there. 1 minute 9.4 on the board. Imri then on provisional pole, looking to go back-to-back pole position this week. And that'll be a good showing for Ethan and for Brashman. Both made the choice for inters on their first laps here. As Brashman rounds the last corner towards the line, looking at 1 minute 10 here. 1 minute 10.3. Set up for P6. But Che, Dan, Pope, and Landlord all together there. So Imri fastest. So imagine we should see everyone potentially looking at sets of inters now. And I imagine that this could be the fastest that the times get. I imagine potentially we might see a bit of improvement from some of the cars who did go on the soft tyres of faster cars, such as the rest of the cars in that top 5. Che, Dan, Pope, Landlord. AT invalidating his lap there. 11.1 for him in his last run. Curtis 17.0 his first sector. Ethan he's crossed the line P8 from 1 minute 11.662 on those intermediate tyres. $17.7 for Ethan. AT invalidating. 49.0 for Curtis. It's about a second or so down on the laps of Che and Dan last time round. Dan on the inters now. Che also on the inters. So intermediate tyres are the primary the weapon of choice now for the rest of this session. That we're looking at 1 and maybe 2 more runs at best for everyone, because Austria is such a short circuit. Curtis 1:11.3, enough for 8th place. Only AT gets set a lap time. He's still down those soft tyres. Will likely pit here. Yes, he will. Both McLarens, both Haas cars there in Q3. The only 2 teams get both their cars in. Curtis still going here. Pushing on those inters. Imri, Dan, Che, Pope, all on the circuit again. Well, Imri actually stopping stationary here. Up at turn 3. I think letting Che go. Yes. DRS disabled now. And we're looking at likely much slower times here from everyone, given the conditions. So 5 minutes to go here. And we're looking as though we may not see a lot of improvement from here on out. As the tyres obviously not getting, well, the conditions not getting any drier. Dan third fast and not improving there, losing about half a second on his last effort. Che's a second down. And we're looking here at what looks like looks like an Imri pole. I think short of it drawing up miraculously these next few minutes and everyone get a chance to put soft tyres on. Imri retires, Che also retires, so I think we're looking like a quick end to qualifying from here. And the top 10, short of any improvement to mistakes, looks more or less set. Towards the line for Dan. Can't improve. 10 seconds off. Long way away there from pole. There's just 3 minutes left here. Pope not improving himself. Everyone's pushing to try and find improvements, but there's nowhere to be found right now. Landlord invalidating. And it's looking like a rather anticlimactic end to qualifying as it stands. There's 2.5 minutes left. I think likely we should see everyone return to the pits. I think short of AT, we're still trying to get a lap in, but struggling here. Out of the circuit there, but apparently keeping the lap valid. Dan disconnects. Pope there P4, Landlord P5. So McLaren looking again at 2 cars in the top 10. So 2 minutes left, and it's looking like there'll be no more improvements from here. But I think AT is about to get a lap in this time, so we'll get all 10 cars picking a lap on the board. And he does indeed. 1 minute 14.7 But not enough to improve anything. He stays in P10 here. Last minute then, and with the majority of cars in the pit lane, looking like this would be it. HP Cook retiring there. Just 5 cars left still going. 2 of them on the circuit, Landlord and AT. Landlord going for one more lap, but is not improving. 4/10 down on his last effort. And it's looking like Imrie pole once again. AT goes 8th fastest because it finds 3 seconds and puts himself on the 4th row. AT retiring it there, just waiting for Landlord now to come through, and that'll cap off qualifying. So again, a rather anticlimactic end to things here, as obviously a few guys ran the risk of soft tyres at the start of the session. It didn't pay off for them. Imrie took have full faith in the Inters and comes through and takes pole once again here. Perhaps a second chance to try and get himself a victory this season. And in 36 laps time around the Red Bull Ring, we'll find out if that comes to fruition. As Landlord brings the car to the line. And that'll do it for qualifying then. So, Imrie on pole, from Che in second, Dan in third, Pope fourth, Landlord fifth, Brashman P6. Fantastic qualifying from the reserve driver there. HP Cook P7, another brilliant qualifying for the Sauber driver, looking for another points paying result. AT in 8th, Curtis 9th, and Ethan rounds out your top 10. So that will do it then for qualifying. And we'll catch you in a few minutes' time for the start of the Grand Prix. So here we go now, about a minute or so away from getting underway in the Austrian Grand Prix, and what should be a fantastic race here in the Styrian Hills. And apologies for the issues we've been dealing with in qualifying. Hopefully those should all be fixed. Hopefully, if anyone can let me know if the stream's running okay, then that'd be greatly appreciated. Look at the circuit before we get into Of course, the Red Bull Ring, one of the shortest tracks on the calendar. Lando won last season's race, 36 laps awaiting us here. The conditions still quite cloudy here. Whether we do get some rain later on, I have to wait and see on that front. 10 corners on the circuit, shortest lap of the season. We're setting minute laps earlier on in this thing. Obviously, longer laps during Q3 thanks to the rain conditions. But Imrie on pole and looking to try and take home his first victory in over a year or so in terms of the real world and a few seasons in terms of RDL. Last victory of season 16 in Qatar, as we've said several times in the last few weeks. He guns for his first victory in his third pole. Well, I believe it's his third, perhaps even fourth pole of the season. Looking for a good result to try and redeem himself for Canada last week as well. Those two Haas cars are going to try and score some points in Grumio's absence as the formation about to get in the way here. 19 cars on the starting grid, and we'll have a look now at your full grid for the Austrian Grand Prix here in season 19. So back row by himself is Courtney Goblin in the Mercedes, looking at hard tyres for the race start. Everyone on mediums and hards. This one, the entirety of the bottom 8 or so of the grid, all on hard tyres. JB and Cott lamped together on row number 9. Both of them a shock end to their Q1s. 10th Cannon missing out by about 36 thousandths of a second to Ben, who qualifies in P15. Of course, Obsessed was the last car through. He lands at P12. PJ there, P14. Hard tyres on for him. Same for Ericsson and Obsessed in front. Obsessed reserving today for Websy. EJ lands up P11. Of course, penalty last week after the safety car restart infringement. Gained a number of places and was part of the shunt at the first corner. Ethan lines up P10 on medium tyres as well, gunning for his, trying to add to his 22 points from this season. Curtis in P9. Again, looking to try and continue on his streak of solid finishes, trying to get himself some more points to help Ferrari away from P9 in the standings and the constructors. ATP8 there was fast earlier on in qualifying. I think the rainy conditions didn't quite work to his effect. Lands at P8. HB Cook, fantastic in recent weeks. Looking to continue on his strong form with another points paying finish. Brashman P6, the reserve tonight, lining up for RB, replacing Alvar. Obviously can't score, but looking for a strong result. Landlord P5 there. Currently 3 points back from Imrie in 4th place. If Imrie takes a wrong turn, this could be a chance for him to capitalise. Of course, won this race last season. Pope lines up P4. Pope and Dan, the two drivers to have won races this season that aren't Grumio. Of course, Pope won Saudi Arabia and Dan won Monaco the last time Grumio wasn't here. Che lines up P2 and Imrie lines up on pole. Those two were gunning for the race in the first corner. And the last time these two went head-to-head going towards turn 1, we saw them both collide. At the exit of turn 1 in Monaco, Dan went through to take the lead from both of them and cruised to victory over Pope. So could we get deja vu potentially as the last few cars take their spots here at the back of the starting grid and look into what should be an absolutely remarkable race as Imrie takes his spot at the front. Courtney Goblin, last spot there in the back, and Cotton's position behind, just in front of him. And waiting now on the lights. Here they come for the Austrian Grand Prix, round number 11 of the season. The lights are on. Lights out, foot to the floor, and we are racing. Good start from Che. Fantastic start from Che. Over Imrie, gets a better jump off the line. Going into turn 1. Dan covers Pope off. Lando making that move around the outside for 4th place. Makes the move stick. Leaving turn 1. Pope down the spot. Brashman holds on to P6. HP behind him. It's all single file. Down to a round of Obsessed Gamer in P12. He's got a number of cars. Gaggling up behind him. There goes Cott making a move to the middle lane. Going towards the outside here. Looking towards turn 3. Trying to avoid contact if he can. And Ericsson doing the same thing. Ericsson off the circuit there. Falls down the order, but Che leads over Imrie. Of course, those two are on different strategies here. Hard tyres for Imrie, mediums for Che. And Che using those to his benefit as Dan is trying for a move on a second down. Imrie is in stuck there in a Haas sandwich as they leave turn 4 and towards turn 5. But Che leads, and you saw a fantastic get off the line over the Red Bull next to him. Took full advantage of Imrie struggling to get away. And up into the lead now and showing the way. Looking for his first win of the season. HP Cook's got Brashman all over him there. Curtis and EJ, both Ferraris in the top 10, has come through to complete the first lap. AT down in P10's, lost a few places wide there at turn 9. Recovers the car, gets himself moving again. But perhaps might find himself under pressure from Ethan as they leave turn 1. Che leads the first lap from Imrie and Dan. That's your top 3, and it's Landlord P4 as it goes single file all the way through here. Save for Obsessed Gamer going for a move on Ethan into turn 1. Those two side by side, Obsessed over the curb there. I imagine he may potentially got a warning for that, but DRS in play for both cars here as the Aston Martin gets it narrowly off of AT and P10. Can Obsessed go for a move to the inside? Essentially can't think of it. Keeps himself where he is. But there goes Ben making the pass on Obsessed instead as they leave turn 3. Down the hill once again. DRS in play for both cars, and Ben with the nose in front and will clear Obsessed going towards the 4th corner. And there goes PJ looking for a move potentially as well, sending it to the inside of the Alpine, making his way into turn 4. Can't do it. Cott trying the outside on corner exit. Can't make that move stick either. 10th, JB, Cotney and Ericsson bring up the rear. Che leading here by almost a second to Imri already, and Dan half second back from the Red Bull. And Che is putting the burners on early on in this Grand Prix. 1.3 to the good here, and that could put Imri under serious trouble from Dan behind him as they lead the last corner to a complete lap 2. All single file here as Che again far to his lap. Those medium tyres working a dream here for Imri as Courtney Goblin gets the first penalty of the night here. 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings because Austria is a track notorious for that sort of thing. So keep an eye out for that over the course of the night. Will it play into the race win later? Have to wait and see. But for now, though, Che is making sure he can try and avoid that as best he can as he leaves 1.6 to Imri. He's being challenged by Dan now to the inside in turn 3. Locks up a little bit on corner entry and on corner exit. Pulling out front by a nose there. But Dan again with DRS and it's still quite close. And Dan makes the clearance. Cool as you like. And there goes Landlord 2. Double whammy for Imri. Down 2 more spots here. The pulses are down to P4 in the early advance to this race. And Pope may try and counter 2 from P5. HP Cook in P6. That's your train there. But up front, it's still Che. And Dan will try and hold these guys behind him at base so his teammate can try and pull an even bigger advantage. Of course, Dan is the car in main focus for the team in the Drivers' Championship. 76 points back from Grumio. Any points he gains today are points gained on the championship leader. Could bring it down to 51 with the victory today. It'll be critical for Haas that Dan win this race in order to continue their push for the Drivers' Championship. But it's a big game for them. The 1-2 in the Constructors. Of course, they come into this one already ahead of Williams by 9 points. And looking potentially to expand that lead to around, we're looking at about, if I get my numbers right, we're looking at about 52 points here at the standings as it stands between Haas and Williams. So that's a big advantage to be opened up. In a number of seasons here where it's been the combination of Grumio and Landlord taking home the Constructors. Che and Dan to try and break that streak for the first time in 4 seasons. The last time a team that didn't have either one of those 2 drivers in it won the Constructors was back in season 15, Fan and BJ from Mercedes. Landlord is still there in 3rd place. Imri being put under pressure from Pope. Season 11 champion looking to try and take P4 away. HP could holding on to the train here on those medium tyres. There's 2 cars on hard in that top 6. Those cars being Imri and Dan. And Che is being reeled in a little bit here. Obsessed gets hit with a penalty for multiple warnings. There's 3 cars now. Sorry, apologies, no, just 2 cars. I thought I saw a 3rd one up top. Not to be for the minute, but Imri will have DRS off of Landlord. Dan is within a second now of Che. Is Che backing up perhaps to allow his teammates to get DRS, keep away any pressure from Landlord behind? Of course, we've seen how notorious Landlord can be at this circuit. As I say, one of the races he won last season, so looking to try and go back-to-back in the same way Imri went back-to-back. It's in poles last week and this week, but currently struggling in 4th place. And locking up again there at turn 3. There goes EJ to the inside, making a move on Brashman into turn 3. Can't quite do it. Didn't get enough for a run. Brashman holds on to the spot. And AT may try and take advantage of EJ's misdemeanor going up towards turn 4 now. Down the hill into the right-hander, making a send there. The McLaren on the Ferrari going into turn number 4. Shade to the 1990s. And up into 8th place goes AT. Cool as you like there, and what a send it was on EJ. Curtis bringing up the points paying places in P10. He's got Ben for company in his mirrors in P11. Similar to second back to Cott, who's made steady progress so far in this Grand Prix course. Are those cars who got eliminated in Q1? Those cars being obviously Cott, 10th, JB and Courtney Goblin. Cott's made the most progress as Imri gets hit with a penalty for multiple warnings, and there it is. Austria already catching out a number of cars in terms of penalties, and that could be costly for the race win later on. I mentioned it earlier on this evening, but of course you think back to last season's race here as Dan and Che go fighting for the lead. Dan wins out on this occasion, easy as you like, in towards turn at number 3. Che will get DRS as a result, being the car behind at the detection point going towards the peak of the apex. And Che will try and close that gap back down, but Dan is in front by a few tenths here. So there goes Pope on the move for Imri. And things get worse and worse for the pole sitter here. Down 4 places in the first 5.5 laps completed, and a penalty to boot as well. Tough stuff so far. Imri currently will be in a net P6, given that AT is 3 seconds back from HP Cook as it stands. So as it stands right now, Imri's safe in 6th. You have to hope we can try and build a bit more time on the cars running from P7 on back. But his main concern is trying to get around Pope for P4 again. Perhaps it's the tyres, not entirely sure what the struggle could be. But down those hard tyres himself, doing a fantastic job leading the way. But does his teammate Che get a run at him potentially? Hasser dominating in the early stages. Landon into third place. Pope fourth, Imrie now fifth. HP Cook there still in sixth place. Remarkable job for him to keep up with the leaders here. Che penalty now, so that's 2 cars in the top 6 in that lead train with penalties. AT will be looking at his lips, the prospect of one of those cars towards the tail end of the train, perhaps getting one if he can close in a little bit. He's trying to pull away from Brashman, but not too much effect right now. As EJ and Curtis again bring up the top 10. Ben still on his tail, Cott is right on their heel, snapping back at them in P12 as Che reclaims the lead from Dan, but obviously has that penalty to think about now. And as it stands, that will currently put him down to 6th place himself. Or rather, apologies, that would be 5th place, as Imrie has his own penalty to think about. And of course, those 3-second penalties, you can't get those away. You can't get rid of those in the pit lane. So the 2 Haas cars trading the lead back and forth here. So we're nearing a quarter distance already. Dan closes the gap a little bit there. Doesn't go for a move just yet. We'll hold it for the minute. And we'll look to try and counter up towards turn 3. And this should be light work for the trailing car. There goes Dan up into the race lead once again. And put these two far enough in front now to the point where Landlord is almost losing DRS. In fact, he has lost it. So no, he hasn't lost DRS. He's still within 8/10 side. The wrong thing on my timing screen there. He's still holding both Pope and Imrie at bay. HP Cook still in DRS range. And now he's now 4 seconds in front of AT. So they're really breaking away from that train from 7th on back. That's more or less the entire rest of the pack here. As there goes Brashman making a move. He now leads the train on the inside of AT in towards turn 4. It goes a bit deep there. And the McLaren might take advantage on corner exit. Can't do it. So Brashman then now leads this train. Can he try and pull a gap on the cars behind him? Have to wait and see. Again, no real change from 7th on back, save for those 2 changing spots there. Courtney Goblin, Ericsson, 10th Cannon all at risk of falling off the train right now. 10th dead last. Wide there at turn 9, not helping her case as she continues to try and chase down Ericsson for P18. Of course, probably take advantage of those few cars in front of her with penalties, those 2 being Obsessed and Courtney Goblin. And now AT gets one too as Pope makes his move on Landlord, takes the way P3, going in towards turn number 3. And 2 former champions going at it wheel to wheel on corner exit, or rather going up towards the corner. Pope wins out. EJ now passing Curtis, the 2 Ferrari teammates side by side as Obsessed gets hit with another penalty there. 6 seconds now for both Courtney and Obsessed. As Curtis being put under pressure by his teammate again, side by side towards turn 4. Behind them, Ben and Cott nose to nose. Cott around the outside. Can he try and squeeze past Ben? He can do. Up into P11 now goes Cott. And it's Alpine's sole hope for points in this race. Looking potentially... Oh, contact! And colliding there with Curtis as EJ was dancing on past both of them. Side by side through turn 7. Cott wins out, takes the point away. And it doesn't look like he's got too much damage here, so fortunate to continue on as he is. Neither one of the 2 cars pitting, so all seems okay between the pair of them. Both continue on as Curtis runs wide there, leaving turn 10, and Ben takes full advantage into P11 now. And Curtis is dropping through the field now as we begin lap 10. Down to P13 as PJ clears him into 1. But can he try and get him back on corner exit up towards turn 3 here? Not looking like it. A better exit for PJ is all he needed. EJ now being passed by Cott, so both Ferraris now in the Alpine's mirrors. They'll begin to try and chase down Brashman 2 seconds in front, and AT holding that place as those 2 go toe-to-toe up towards turn 4 now. It's still Dan leading. He's pulled 1.2 seconds on Che. Pope in third, 1.6 back. Landlord still chasing. Imrie not far behind either. HP Cook still in P6, still in DRS range. And everyone's still all gunning for position here. Everything to play for, and another 26 laps to play for it in. Ethan's slightly off his line there from turn 7. Will he see Transy JB take advantage? Number of cars in the pit lane here. Several cars, 4 cars coming in. HB Cook, Imri, Landlord, Che, all stopping here. And of course, tyre wear has been a big issue over the course of things so far. We heard a lot in practice about these guys complaining about how long the soft tyres run. We're looking at about 9 laps on mediums here. So we're looking at hards for almost the entirety of the field. Everyone's stopped there going on to hard tyres. And that is only 6 cars have stopped, but they're all looking at hards. And I can't imagine it'd be too long before we see both Dan and Pope in. Of course, these two were the ones running 1 and 2 during the Monaco race just 3 weeks ago. We had the exact same circumstance. Grumio not on the grid, and Dan taking advantage of both Che and Imri in the opening stages. He's in complete control of things here and will stay out for a bit longer, I imagine. But will Pope come in? Pope is pitting. Yes, he is. Medium tyres, doing 10 laps or so for Pope at best. If we look at a pit stop then for the Season 11 champion. Conley Goblin penalty there once again. Brashman, Cott, Ben, PJ all stay out. Number of cars coming in. Should be under pressure from Cottney Goblin there. Oh, contact again. And Obsessed Game has lost a bit of front wing. Che takes advantage, goes dancing past. So never get the traffic now. And Che looking to try and clear 3 cars here. He has cleared 3 cars. Fantastic. Obsessed chasing Cottney now on the run towards turn 4. And they're trying the outside. A bit of a send from Obsessed. He can make this pay off. He might, you know. Not to be for the minute. Cottney Golden gets back past. But what a move that would have been if Obsessed managed to clear him around the outside at turn 4. 10th trying to get involved here. She's on the tail of JB once again. Landlord and Pope both in front of Imri. But potentially these guys will be stuck in traffic. Could pay into Imri's hands. Right on the tail there, his former teammate as they head towards turn 9. Obsessed pitting to repair that front wing. And Imri getting around his teammate there, but falling off pace a little bit as Landlord makes the pass and JB Pope follows him towards turn 1, darting to the inside. JB being swallowed up here. Hard tyres for everyone now in the field. So Imri to try and get around JB as well. Side by side up towards turn 3. Both cars with DRS. Battle of the brakes. Imri comes out on top around the outside. But JB's still there on corner exit. Imri, though, moves up into 9th place. And will continue to try and chase Pope and Landlord. Che's always made his stop. Dan, that top 6, the 1 car yet to pit. JB, 10th, Cottney. PJ, Brashman, Cott and Dan all yet to stop. But here comes Dan now. And the hard tyres not lasting too long here. We're definitely looking at 2, perhaps even 3 stops in this Grand Prix. Che around the outside there, making the pass on PJ into 4th place. And he may well take the lead potentially away from his teammate. Dan nearing the pit exit. There he goes. It's going to be very close here between the 2 of them. And Che narrowly comes out in front. Very close between the pair of them. And Imri, a 2nd penalty there. May have got caught out at turn 1 potentially. And it's falling off pace. Brashman now passing Cott. These 2 racing for the lead here. Even if they are both yet to stop. I wouldn't have thought I'd see Cott leading this race today given the Q1 struggles. But here he is fighting for position up front. Around he goes. And he saves it narrowly. Sorry, he called me as I was having a drink of water. But Cott recovers the car. Lucky to avoid damaging it. But falls away now from Brashman. That moves Che and Dan into 2nd and 3rd. They continue to race for what will be a net P1. When they inevitably catch Brashman here. And they are catching him at a rate of knots. As Cott pits then. Gone as far as he can go on those hard tyres, it seems. Imri now into P6 again. So the top 5, top 6 from earlier on and almost all together again. Che and Dan making the pass on Brashman. Dan had to outbreak the RB a bit more. Che taking advantage, trying to pull away. See Dan on much fresher hard tyres compared to his teammate. As HB Cook now gets a penalty as well. So Imri and HB Cook both have penalties. 6 seconds for Imri, 3 for HB Cook. And Dan's looking good right now because, of course, his teammate's also got a penalty as well. So Che needs to try and pull 3 seconds on Dan, which has been easier said than done based on today. Fantastic Grand Prix it's been so far. Very chaotic. And a number of cars now medium tyres. 10th, Cot, Obsessed and PJ. 4 of them gunning for the faster tyre here. Brashman now pitting. That'll move everyone up together again. Yellow flag in the last corner. Not quite sure who that is, actually. No real concern then. It may have just been Cotney into the pit lane. I'm not entirely sure what that was, but Cotney's in. He's taking those hard tyres, 15 laps. It's now a set of mediums for him. He's away. Brashman also emerged onto medium tyres. Pushy a fair bit there on PX. They're lucky to avoid the barrier, waiting from out turn 1. Towards turn 3, he can find himself side by side with Ericsson going in towards the right-hander. Neither car emerging on top on this occasion for the minute, but there goes Brashman taking full advantage there. Back up front here, we're still looking at the 2 Haas cars, 1 and 2, 7/10 covering the pair of them. Pope 3 seconds back in 3rd place, Landlord chasing him. HB Cook now 2.4 behind, Imri 1.3 back, so real struggles for these guys at the minute. And of course, Imri may well lose P6 as well, thanks to AT being 4 seconds back, although AT's got 3 seconds of his own, so Imri's safe right now as Cock gets a penalty. We're looking at a lot of cars, I think, with penalties come the end of this race, and we're already nearly halfway through. Been fantastic so far. There goes Dan now looking for the lead again. Blasting past his teammate there with DRS, cool as you like. And caught another penalty for him. He is struggling here. 6 seconds now in the space of about a lap or so. And the safety car's out. I'm not entirely sure what... Oh! Scott's gone around there. He's had a spin, leaving turn 1. Well, there we go. That makes complete sense now. Safety car out, and that'll bring everyone close together again. And that could make things a lot more interesting. No one's retired from the race, so I've got to imagine it was Cott. He's the only car I could see with issues. And there it is. The front wing is gone completely from the Alpine. Tough race for him so far, after making such strong progress in this thing. But I'd say the race isn't over for him yet. There's still a long way to go. I think we should see everyone likely stay out. Stan and Shelley a bit close for comfort there going into turn 10 as Pope actually pits in. So we're going to actually scrap that. We may see a few cars pit. Pope and Landlord both in. HB Cook and Imri staying out. What's AT doing? AT stays stays out. EJ stays out. Ben, same thing. No takers for the minute. As everyone comes through turn 9. Curtis will join a few cars coming in. So will Ericsson. Obsessed taking advantage. Ted Cannon. Will she pit too? She's slowing up. I think she will though. Yes. JB pitting as well. So these cars a little back. Safe for Courtney Goblin. And Cott. Oh, sorry. I think Cott probably should pit, give him that damage, but he's carrying on for now. Ted Cannon away there. Medium tyres going on. So everyone then brought close together again. And 10 of the 19 cars on circuit with penalties of some kind. Che, HB Cook, Imri, AT will have penalties. Courtney Goblin, same thing. You've got 9 seconds to his name. Cott has 6, Curtis has 3. 3 for 10th and JB, and 12 for Obsessed Gamer. Not a strong day for Obsessed as reserves in for Websy today. Not good so far. But Dan will be rubbing his fingers here. Rubbing his hands, rather. At the prospect of all 4 cars having penalties. Pope, same thing. Him and EJ, as it stands right now, stand to gain the most. And EJ only scored 7 points all season. if he can, by some method keep up with this lead pack, you never know. Could he be looking potentially at an RDL podium? It's unlikely, given how much race there's left to run, and the fact he's got Landlord right on his tail, but on those fresh mediums. But you never know. And that is the beauty of the RDL. You never quite know what's going to happen next, especially at this circuit of all places. This has been a bull ring in several senses of the word in the course of the last few seasons, and of course, I think my entire time commentating here as a whole, as Cott now does pit to repair that damage. But this race really could go anyone's way, and of course, if Dan gets a penalty too, then that'll open things up completely. And it'll be those guys with 3 seconds that stand to gain the most. Pope, obviously, with 0 as well. Also, as I say, stands to gain. But should everyone get at least 3 seconds, it could be game on. And it'd be a real mathematician's task to try and figure out who will be where in the order come the checkered flag. We're looking like there's going to be 16 laps to go when we get back underway. No takers in terms of tyres for the minute. Everyone seems to be all comfortable with what they're on. Just waiting now on 10th JB, Obsessed and Cott. I mean, in comes Emery now. Emery making a change. Gets the car slow for the pit lane, so he's going to sacrifice track position here. Same for Cottney Goblin also coming in. Into zone for Emery. And that could mean rain. I mean, it doesn't look much like it here. I mean, the track seems quite sunny, but things are clouding over. So what does Emery know something that we don't? What's Cottney done? Cottney's on medium tyres. Has Emery made the wrong call? We'll have to wait and see here. What's Emery waiting for? Is there rain coming again? Because it's gone quite bright since we go back underway again in terms of the race. Of course, it was cloudy when we started. It's brightened up by comparison, but is there a move waiting here for Emery that we don't know about yet? Of course, we don't get the weather information in terms up here in the comms box. So we have to make do with what we've got in terms of just simply watching the sky. As the safety car comes in this lap, what is Emery got up his sleeve? That'll be the question. We'll see if he pits on the restart, whether or not that'll be a mistake that they've made on the pit wall at Red Bull, which may well sacrifice any chance of points today, let alone the race win. Things getting slightly cloudier here. That's looking darker in the distance. So it could be anyone's game. But as of right now, our focus is in front. As Dan will lead Che and HP Cook back to the line. AT 4th, Pope 5th, EJ, Landlord, Ben, Ethan, Brassman, your top 10. And Dan is stretching his lead already. Getting moving here, leaving turn 9. And with 16 laps to go here in Austria, we are back to green flag racing on lap 21. Fantastic start there for Dan. Obsessed gamer, 3-second penalty again here, really struggling. Emery says no inters, so what is the game plan here? Are things going to get darker? I have to keep an eye on the sky. HP Cook Landlord on his tail as they leave turn 1. Pope identically making the move on Landlord. Might try and challenge him to turn 3 now on the defending race winner. In towards the right hander they go. And Pope taking advantage of Landlord on corner exit. Still there on the outside. Very tight between them. And Pope making the pass by a half a car length. They're still side by side towards turn 4. Landlord outbreaks Pope again. I'm getting my facts wrong. That's AT. I am so sorry. That's AT in the McLaren, who is challenging as I get myself crossed up. There goes Pope regardless, passing either one of the McLarens. And now they're both going to go wheel to wheel potentially. Yellow flag. That's just the game being buggy. Landlord tries the outside now on his teammate. I think he heard me calling his name, and he's made the pass there nice and easy around the outside of AT. P5 for the former series champion. Dan now leading by 8/10 over Che. They've both got 2 seconds. HP Cook as Pope follows in their wake. Things getting cloudier here. By the looks of it, Emery is there on the inters waiting for any rain. We've got to assume there's rain coming. He wouldn't be this committed to it if there wasn't. As Pope makes the pass, gets himself onto the podium here. Of course, has no penalty to think about either, as Landlord tried to send him 2 around turn 3. Ericsson penalty there. Obsessed with a 5th one. Sorry, a 6th penalty. 18 seconds for him. It's a tough race for him so far. And again, Dan and Che picking up where they left off. But the rain is... Okay, it looks like there must be rain coming because it's getting cloudier and cloudier here. And Emery Want to try and take advantage of that. He's about 13 seconds back from Dan as it stands. EJ penalty now as well. Just 7 cars with no penalties in this race right now. 7 of 19, that's over half. 14 laps to go. Cott with penalty, Courtney Goodman with penalty. Both cars had them already. There's a look at them. Majority with 3. As Imrie gets a third one there. And I think even if he does take advantage of everyone else in terms of tyre strategy, that's going to be quite a gap to close. You have to rely on Dan getting a penalty or 2. Pope getting one as well. Landlord. Those 3 guys all in contention to try and win this thing. And both Pope and Landlord looking to try and chase Che down. Both of them within range to try and nab the podium place under Che's nose. Might be up to Dan here to try and keep Che to an advantage potentially. As Curtis makes the pass and his teammate there for P7. Still clouding over here. JB passing 10th Cannon for P14. Those two going side by side. Up towards turn 6. 10th as the inside line. And JB on the outside there takes full advantage of the grip there he had, leaving turn 7 as Cott looks to try and fight his way around. He's got his teammate behind him for company obsessed. Courtney P18, Imrie P19, 15 seconds back now. There's got to be rain coming. You've got to think there is. Brashman penalty now. And that's 13 cars now with penalties. And here's hoping we don't end up with a full house. Ethan penalty. And that's another one there. 14 drivers with penalties. It's getting closer and closer to that full house. And as AT and HP Cook go side by side, the Sauber wins out. Can Curtis try and get involved too? He can't for the minute. His teammates he's not putting him under pressure behind. There goes AT again. The outside here, looking at turn 4. Can he try and make that move? He can't do it. The inside line's the place to be. HP Cook holds on to P5 narrowly. There goes AT again. To the inside now, going in towards turn 6. And he clears in that time. And there it is. The rain's arrived. Yellow flag. Hey, Ericsson's around. Recovers the car. Gets moving again. 12 laps to go for Dan in front. But the rain is here now. Imrie 17 seconds back with 9 seconds of penalties as it stands right now. So it's looking like it's going to be a tough effort for Imrie to win this race. He's gone for broken. I wonder if it perhaps has slipped. I see the first few cars here. 10th, Obsessed, Courtney Goodman all pitting for what I assume has to be intermediate tyres. And we should see a huge gaggle of cars pitting now as Imrie takes P15 away. Almost 20 seconds back from the lead now. And Dan and Shane not struggling enough on the hard tyres just yet. The track not wet enough, I think, to go for the intermediates at the minute. But they're sliding around. It's actually raining quite quickly here. The track might get wetter faster than expected. As those 3 cars emerge now, bottom 3 in the order. We're looking at around sort of 20 seconds or so in the pit lane. One of those 2 Haas cars has to stay out a bit longer because they're both fighting for the lead and they can't afford to double stack now. Not when there's points to the constructors on the line. Dan is taking his legs coming first, and Che, I thought for a second was going to run into him, but hasn't done that. Pope in as well. Pope at benefit here. Doesn't have to think about his teammate being up there with him to avoid a double stack. Courtney's pitted already. Landlord in, of course, he also leads his team. McLaren double stacking here. Brashman in behind. A lot of cars coming in now. And Imrie will gain a whole lot of spots. We'll see where about he emerges compared to Dan, who stopped. And it looks as though the gamble has not paid off for Imrie then. The rain took a few laps too long to arrive, but his tyres are now rubbered in by 6 laps. The question is, will they still last to the end? I should imagine they will. I've seen the rears burn awfully fast on intermediate tyres in this game. Could Imrie perhaps be a victim to that? And of course, he has got those 9 seconds to think about too. He'll be hoping to avoid a safety car of any kind late on here to ensure he comes home in a points-paying place. There goes Pope making the pass again on Imrie in towards turn 4, but slides off. Well, not off the circuit, but offline, and Imrie takes advantage of that, gets back through, switch back from Imrie into P5. Slick move there from the Red Bull driver. Che, Ben, Ethan all staying out here for the minute. In comes Che, who's lost a fair bit of time here. But Dan needs to have the priority in this case. given that he's got no penalty and is racing for the championship lead. Again, that gap in the championship can go down to 51 points. Dan can gain a full race win on Grumio. Should he come through and win this thing without any issue. Che is emerging from the pit box now, nearing the pit exit. But I think Dan was definitely going to get him here, up towards turn 1. There goes Dan into the race lead. Imrie now in second. But that's just on the racetrack here. Dan will emerge in what looks to be Che will emerge in what looks to be P4. Dan takes the lead. So we get a sense of your order as they run. And will likely be the positions to fight for in the closing laps here in Austria. So Dan leads from Imrie now second, Pope third, Che fourth, Landau fifth, ATP sixth, and it's Brashman, HB Cook, Obsessed, and Cotton your top 10 as Pope makes the pass. Imrie for second place, PJ P11. Sorry, they're going side by side down through turn 5. Sorry. Imrie nipping in front, but Pope there better drive off. Imrie trying the outside. He's got the grip on the high groove, and on corner exit, pulling clear. Pope a bit wide there, sliding around a bit. Imrie takes full advantage. Che making the pass for the third place, of course, has that penalty to think about. So Pope and Landlord are sitting pretty here. They're on for the other 2 podium spots, but Dan looks on for the victory here. Unless something goes wrong in these final 8 laps this race. No DRS here, so it's all down to slipstream and battery usage in the closing laps. It's going to be a very exciting finish between these guys as they all squabble for those podium places. But it looks as though, obviously, Dan and Landau are the favourites, but if they both get penalties, it's game on. Che closing on Imrie here, looking to make a send on the Red Bull into turn 4. Can't do it. Keeps the car on the wraps. Again, 5 drivers yet to take a penalty in this race. Those drivers being Dan, Pope, Landau, PJ, and Ben. I think all 5 of those guys will be rewarded for their actions on track today. Imrie holding on to things right now. As it stands, looking to finish in P5, so it'll only end up the back of this train potentially. It's going to be close as Landau gets hit with a penalty of his own now. And that'll make things difficult. That'll put Che back in the driving seat here for a podium finish in third. 8 laps to go. Dan makes the move on to lap 29. Imrie 3 seconds back from the leader. Che going for the move into turn 1. Thinks better of it. Moves back into line. Keeps himself in behind, tucked up behind that Red Bull's gear, behind the rear wing of that Red Bull. Pope is there on corner exit 2. P4. Landau obviously P5. And dropping back a little bit here. Struggling as Pope tries to close in the 2 cars in front of him. Che still not going for it. Perhaps setting up for turn 3. Close to contact between the pair of them. Can Pope squeeze in and take advantage? Not for the minute. Use some battery as Che follows Imrie's wake. Imrie tries to cover him off, can't do it. Che making the pass on the inside there. They're side by side. Che clears him, and Pope may try and send again, not going for it. Imrie trying to squeeze back in front of Che potentially if he can, but can't do it. EJ penalty there. He's got 6 seconds now. And now just 4 cars with no penalties in this race. Imrie going for second place again on Che into turn 6. Can't do it. Brashman there, P7 by himself for the minute. HP Cook P8 on for some more points. Obsessed in P9, but stands to lose a lot of spots here. He will likely be the last car in the order today. And PJ rounds up the points. Ben there in P11. Those guys take full advantage of a number of cars in front potentially. Could finish as high as P8 and P9. It's getting about 2 spots each. 7 laps to go. And again, Pope stands to gain P2 if he stays where he is right now. He's only about a second or 1.3 seconds off of Che in second with that penalty to think about. And that safety car brought everyone close together as there goes Pope now making the move on Imrie into turn 3. Imrie leaves him all the space in the world. They're going through turn 3 and on corner exit. Pope edging in front. Can Imrie tuck in and go for it again? He's got very little battery. Yellow flag behind them. Car off. That's caught for a second time spinning out of turn 1. I think he's got stuff moving again. Recovered it, but down to P18 now. A long way back. But Pope now into a 3rd place outright. It'll be a net 2nd place unless he loses another second half to Che, who's starting to pull away now. And Haas still dominating this thing as they have done for the first 30 laps. And Dan is 6 laps away from his second win of the season. And becomes just the second driver other than Grumio to take more than 1 win this season. There's only been 3 race winners in the first 11 races this campaign. 8 of them have been Grumio. 1 each to Dan and Pope. That could be 2 for Dan. As I say, in 6 laps time as the rain continues to fall here in Austria. Again, still just those 4 drivers. I think we can't possibly go for a full house here in terms of everyone getting a penalty in this race. I've never seen that before, even on this circuit. So the rain continues to pound the Styrian Mountains. Pope trying to pull a gap on Imrie, but simultaneously Che is pulling a gap on Pope. He's 2.3 in front now. So we're looking at a 1-2, and of course that's a big gain for Haas, the constructors, even as is. With JB down in P13 and Grumio not here, out of the picture completely. It's looking like it could be a full 43-point gain here for Haas to bring their lead to 52 points in the standings. Be a big boost their ambition in the constructors as we near the halfway stage of the campaign, which will be next week in Belgium, the third 100% race of the season. And Che with a second penalty there. And that could put him in trouble with Landlord and AT. Or rather, just Landlord, sorry. Yellow flag. And that is caught a third time going around. This time at exit turn 4. Recovers it. Moves on again. Last of the running cars. I think may end up emerging as the last place car today. Despite us just getting around 21 seconds of penalties. It's going to be close on that front. Tough day for Cop today in the end. Imrie and Landlord nose to nose into turn 3. Landlord wins out on this occasion. Imrie's fallen back and Cott is slow there as it goes up towards turn 9. Recovers it, whatever's going on. Pope now 2.5 behind Che here as he really slides into turn 4. Trying to find some more time, but as a result, Link loses a 10th potentially. Rounds turn 9 again. 2.8 the gap now, and Pope is, well, obviously we're still looking at 6 seconds penalty wise. So I actually think Pope should actually be alright. But if he loses another 3 seconds in the next 4 laps, then he'll lose out on 2nd place. And I'm sure he won't want to do that. And if Dan gets penalty 2, he's in position to try and take advantage. But he needs Dan to have 2 penalties, I should think. He's currently 4.9 behind. He's really losing time now to those 2 cars. 4.9 off the lead, 3.1 off of Che in second. So set for P2 right now. And Imrie failing to close the gap here to Landlord later on. Yellow flag again. Caught again with problems there down at turn 7. What a race it's been, this. Complete chaos as always around Austria. Penalties galore. That safety car obviously playing into things. Imrie took a big risk going on to intermediate tyres with the safety car restart. Didn't pay off for him. I think he wanted that rain to come a bit earlier than it did to try and gain any time from that. Of course, he was almost 20 seconds back by the time the rain was heavy enough to switch twinters. And Dan has taken full advantage as a result. Che now 3.3 in front of Pope. Props to Cop for continuing on here, doing a remarkable job. Valiantly pushing on to the end. Dan, though, 3 laps from victory. His teammate can't beat him here unless he gets 2 penalties of his own. I'll have to ask him post-race if he is close to a penalty at all. I can't imagine he's gone the entire race without a warning. But of course, props go to those 4 cars who have got no penalties in this race. Dan, Pope, PJ and Ben. And those guys will likely be looking at around at highest P7 for PJ. Those guys want to fight here for these last few spots. As PJ is gunning to try and take Obsessed up towards turn 3. I think, honestly, can stay where he is right now, but may go for it anyway. On the Alpine in towards turn number 3. There he goes at the inside. And looking for the position and taking the position for a second, but Obsessed getting it back on corner exit. Second wind on the run towards turn 4. Can he try and clear? Get Aston Martin again. Cop penalty 12 seconds from now. It's still side by side down towards 4. And PJ wins out there. Quite slow on corner exit here. And recovers it. About to go a lap down here to Dan, who's got just 2 laps to go. 10th cannon penalty. It's the second of the evening. And caught here. We'll try and finish the race in the lead lap. Blue flag's in play. There he goes. So the 2 Haas cars get through there, putting Cott a lap down again. Tough race for Cott. It's been all over. I think it's been all over the shop today in terms of position. Going on there with damage, so still carrying on with the end plate lost on the car. Pope still looking at a second place finish here. Landlord and Imri look set for their spots. I'm thinking that Imri will still come out in P6 here. He needs about another second and a half on AT to come away with P5 in this thing, thanks to the 3-second penalty for AT. Unless, of course, the McLaren gets one more penalty. PJ and Ben now both home pass obsessed. And those guys both looking here at higher points paying places than they're getting right now. Fantastic drives from the pair of them to hold on as it has been on the circuit with these conditions as Dan comes through to start the last lap of this race. One more lap to go in Austria. Dan leads Che. Pope is still on for 3rd place as it stands right now, unless he loses 1.2 seconds on this last lap. And Che is still chasing his teammate valiantly, perhaps looking to try and maybe fight for the win on track in the closing laps here. Do we get a last lap spectacle here between the 2 Haas cars? There's both Brashman and Curtis to get penalties. Again, 15 of 19. All 19 cars will see the flag, but only 4 of them penalty free. The 2 Haas cars have been comfortable and dominated today. Dan's led almost every single lap in this thing. Of course, Che took advantage of Imri at the start. These two went toe-to-toe, and Dan came away with no penalties, and that's what's won in the race here, because that's what's given him priority between the pair of them. In terms of pit strategy, in terms of track position, it's all worked out very nicely for these 2 cars. And they're set to gain, as I say, 43 points in the championship. Sorry, no, scrap that. Set to gain, I believe it is 40 points in the standings, thanks to Pope being there in P3 still. He'll take P2 away from Che, unless P gets penalty in the last 2 corners. But Dan, though, is penalty-free as Che goes sliding wide behind them. The 2 Haas cars come round the last corner, take the checkered flag after a chaotic race here at the Red Bull Ring. And Daniel Aaron wins for the 2nd time this season. He takes victory in Austria. Che crosses the line in 2nd place, and Pope will come through to take P2 overall. Che in 3rd place, Landlord 4th. Imri P5, I think will lose out to AT. He will take P5 away. Imri P6, tough day for the pole sitter. Brashman here, 12 seconds to his name and penalties, will likely fall out of the points. Got a number of cars trailing here on the run towards the flag. It will be PJ taking P7, Ben P8, HP Cook P9, Brashman P10, Obsessed to fall down the order. Sorry, JBO nabs the last point in the end. Brashman P11, EJ P12, and Curtis, sorry, Ethan P12, Curtis, EJ P13, Curtis P14, 10th, Cottony, Obsessed, Ericsson, and Cott. That's your order. Took a second head to figure everything out. But Dan wins it then, a 2nd win of the season. His 2nd multi-win campaign in 2 goes. And brings the gap down to 51 points then in the Drivers' Championship. I'm very pleased down the podium. Haas bring home the bacon in a 1-3 finish. Pope comes home in 2nd place there. Fantastic drive for him too. Again, one of those 4 cars with no penalties. Richly deserved podium, and a good 18 points for Pope to help him try and push himself in closer to Landlord in P5 in the standings. Brilliant Grand Prix all round. Chaotic as always in Austria, but great fun all the same. Haas on top, and Dan is your winner. And that'll do us then in terms of all the action today here in Austria. And just richly enjoyable race from everyone there. And we'll get posters interviews underway shortly, and we'll have a look into who wants to have a word with us after what was a very, very enjoyable race, to say the least. Number of cars there in contention to win it. And we'll see who gets to have a chat following that very exciting race. Let us know your thoughts down in the chat below. as we wait now for the first people to arrive in the commentary box to get post interviews underway. I have to ask Dan in terms of how many warnings he had, because I don't believe he had 0 warnings in that whole thing. He had some mistakes somewhere, but I imagine he must have been awfully close in terms of those track limits. But very close all the way around. And we'll see who comes in for a word. And just waiting here for any appearance in the commentary box. See if we can get a few words out of anyone. Of course, props to Haas for taking full advantage of Grimio's absence. And in particular, Dan for winning the race. Of course, he needed those points badly. I think everyone needs those points, to be fair. It's been a chase for the majority of these guys to try and keep with Grimio. And there is our race winner emerging here in the chat. Dan wins for the second time this season. Dan, congratulations. Chaotic race, say the least, mate. Give me your thoughts.
I didn't see too much. Obviously, majority was behind me, I think. But yeah, obviously the rain and the safety car. Like, was it best to pit for new tires? I decided to keep track position because I'd only just pit, so thought it's the best way. Timed it right with the pit stop as well, and got out in front of Imri, who I think managed to hold up Pope and Landlord behind to just give me a bit of breathing space against Che as well. Che was flying at the end, so yeah, a shame about his penalties. Could have been a really good 1-2 for us, but you know, double podium. I think it's been a while since we've really made the most of one of those. So yeah, good race.
How many warnings did you have over the course of the thing? So I refuse to believe you, because obviously you're one of 4 cars to not get a penalty. I think it was you, Pope, Ben, and I'm losing my memory already. I'll get off my screen. But yeah, I mean, were you close to a penalty at all?
No, I didn't have a warning.
You're kidding me. 36 laps, nothing.
Yeah, nothing.
I'm gonna have to see something to verify that, because given how chaotic the race was, I don't believe you at the minute.
I'm sure someone has recorded the race director somewhere. I don't think I got a warning because it said every time it said, "Oh, clean lap X30" or something at the end. So yeah.
Fair enough. Okay, so I'll have to take your word for it for now. But obviously, you did what you needed to do to try and take advantage of obviously eating into Grimio's lead in the championship. 51 points now. Should Grimio miss more races, are you confident you can try and get those wins and try and catch back up with him?
We'll see. I have to start beating him on track now to really make this a bit more of a fight. Yeah, because I think I finished behind him 4 times this season. So yeah, getting a bit frustrating seeing his rear wing, but I need to really just take it to him a bit more, be a bit more aggressive. I was a little bit more aggressive last week in China, but just made I think the right move at the wrong time, I think.
Fair enough. But I mean, obviously, second half of the season coming up, Belgium next week. Are you confident you can take the fight to him there?
We'll see. It's a 100% race. I think only me and him have 100% races since they've been introduced every 4 rounds. So yeah, we'll see. A bit of strat testing to do, I think, and yeah, hopefully we can, both Che and I can fight him.
And obviously, big gains in the constructors too. You guys think sitting currently, I want to say 52 points in front. I could be wrong on that because obviously the 1-3 in the end and the 1-2. I was counting the 1-2 the entirety of the race, just try and see points wise what that would be. But I've lost my maths, so we'll think about that later on. But obviously, good job on the victory. Fair play to you over the course of the entirety of the Grand Prix. And I'll start to get someone to verify whether you did get a penalty or a warning or not. We'll come now to Obsessed, of course, reserved in this race in place of Webbsy. Obsessed, obviously, back in the saddle after a couple of weeks. With this is another race in a row you're going for it. But, I mean, 21 seconds. Was the penalties perhaps the biggest concern today?
The penalties were a little bit of a concern once they got to about 12 or 15 seconds. I kind of stopped caring a little bit because I figured that's my race done and I'm reserve anyway. I'm gonna lose all of the positions. They don't count. I just mostly looked at kind of where I finished on track, which was 11th, which I'm pretty proud of. I know I was in the back for a lot of the race. When that rain started, it happened at the perfect time. I saw the first few drops coming down at like turn 10, and I pitted that lap and went on to the inters, and I think that really helped. I gained 6 places because of that.
Obviously, you're fighting in the midfield for a paired portion race. Was there any one you enjoyed fighting in particular for position?
Um, I don't really remember a lot of the fights that I had. I have a really bad memory when it comes to things like that. Um, I know PJ and Ben pulled like the same exact move on me in the wet, just a lap apart. Um, but yeah, I mostly just kind of tried to stay within DRS, but that was about it.
Fair enough, but of course, like I said, overall, we're pleased in terms of performance, in terms of pace.
Yeah, I think the pace could have been a little better. Last night I did a 50%, and I think I had a lot better pace. That was against the AI, and the AI have janky braking points, especially on the last turn. I know I gained a lot of my positions from that, but yeah, I think that the pace probably could have been better today.
Fair enough. And I'll ask you in terms of next week's race in Belgium, is there a chance to be able to get potentially be in as a reserve for that, or are we looking for your next experience a bit further down the line?
Um, I'm not 100% sure. There's maybe like the smallest possibility of reserving next week in Belgium. Um, I'm moving into college this Thursday, and classes start on Monday. So depending how long the first class actually takes, I might be able to race because it's just syllabus week. So we just go over the syllabus and that's it.
Gotcha. Fair enough.
We'll definitely have to see.
Sounds good. We'll hopefully be able to see you back in here again at some point over the course of the season. Obviously, I think goes to saying good luck to everything in terms of college from all of us here in the RDL, and obviously look forward to seeing you back on the track in hopefully the next few weeks or so. And we'll come now to 10th Callan, who I think had an equally frustrating day today behind the wheel 10th. Perhaps not on pace compared to last week in the end 10th.
I mean, you saw it. We all saw what happened. I was very slow. I'm really disappointed with how that went, to be honest, because I thought I was going to have half a shot. But out in Q1, spent all of the race out of the points actually. Was last at one point. I have nothing more to say. That was just terrible from me.
Fair enough, mate. If that's the case, then I won't pry in terms of question. Actually, the safety car,
Go for it. I don't mind.
did that play into hands at all, or was it played against you almost?
Oh no, it played perfectly. I pitted as soon as the oh wait, no, the safety car. Sorry, I'm thinking of the rain. It didn't really do anything either way. It was just kind of there. The tire wear was really high, higher than I've ever seen in any race, ever. So yeah, I think I pitted under the safety car because I was like, well, it's either that or I lose 20 seconds under a green flag. So yeah, I mean, it just didn't really change my race, to be honest.
You said the rain came at almost the perfect time. What was that about?
Well, it just started raining, and I think I saw a bunch of people go past the pits. But me and I think it was Obsessed and JB who were behind me. We all pitted at the same time because we thought, oh, it's raining. We're getting tires. So we all pitted for inters, and it worked out. We all got to, or it might be Cottney actually. We got to we jumped everyone in front of us basically. Not everyone, but we got in the pack and we got some good positions. I think had I waited a lap, I probably would have been like last, but I wasn't. So I guess there's one positive.
There's always positive to be found after a race like that. And last question, obviously, looking to head to Belgium next week, 100% race. We're looking forward to Belgium as a track.
I won't be there in Belgium. I'm in Gloucester next week, so I will be back. What's next after that? It's
Hungary.
Zandvoort. Oh God. Well, I guess I'll spend the time that I have now and between now and the next race I'm at, practicing. I think I found something that I can improve on that'll make me less poor. So, hopefully that works. I want to be scoring points again. It's not the most fun. I had some fun racing. It was really fun racing with JB and Obsessed and the guys around me. But yeah, I'd rather be giving something to this team rather than just being another car that's on the track.
Fair enough. I mean, we'll be. I think that's big for everyone. So we'll be intrigued to find out what this bit of pace can try and pick up is for the next Grand Prix. So obviously, looking forward to seeing you in 2 weeks' time when you're back on the circuit.
Thank you.
And we'll come now last of all to JB, who of course did wind up in the points at the very end there. P10 finish after penalties were applied. JB, obviously good job on the points at the end. The Q1 elimination. I wanted to ask about that because what happened in Q1?
Just didn't really do a good enough job. Both my second and third run, I had to use all 3 sets of tyres, and yeah, every time I was a couple of tenths up, and then I'd lose it. Either I think the last run I lost it at turn 1 because I had a massive moment, and unfortunately that 2 tenths was sort of getting into Q2. So it was very close though. I mean, to be 1.2 seconds off the leader and be 18th is quite a testimony to how close everyone is. But yeah, just one of those things, and it did make things difficult coming back through the field, but I was more than happy to take home a point.
Fair enough. I mean, continue on in terms of the stuff about qualifying, because obviously we've always thought qualifying sort of back and forth. We never quite know where you're going to end up. Is it becoming more of a concern recently? Can I ask?
Not a concern. I mean, last week I got into Q3. I think it's just a matter of getting your setup right. And today I don't think I did. I think I had too much wing on, which made me really slow on in the first sector. So yeah, I'm not worried. It's just the reality is, unfortunately, the controller players are a little bit of a disadvantage compared with last game. So you have to find another, tenth or two to what you would have had to last game. So just one of those things. But at the same time, there were some really good performances today, like PJ, who has had a really rough start to the season, and he's managed to come 7th. So yeah, no, not an excuse, but just one of those things you have to be wary of.
Yeah, Ben and PJ getting points later on thanks to the lack of penalties on their end. Obviously, I mean, I'm not sure if you knew at the end, but I think we have 15 of 19 drivers get penalties. So obviously, props to those 4 cars who made it to the flag with that. I'm told Dan didn't get a warning over the course of the race, which I don't believe.
Well, it's impressive, especially considering it was raining. To not go wide at all. Yeah, bravo.
How did the rain play out for you as well?
It was difficult. Well, my dry pace wasn't any better, so I can't complain. Unfortunately, as 10th alluded to, I pit a lap later than her and Cottony, and they both jumped me. So I then got stuck behind Cottony for the rest of the race. And you know what? Hats off to Cottony, because this has definitely been his best performance. So I can't complain. But just you have to judge it, and I didn't judge it right. If I'd picked that lap earlier, maybe I could have got after PJ and Co. But yeah, well, like I said, I'm definitely happy with 10th, considering where I was earlier in the race.
Hindsight, definitely 2020 on that front. Of course, the last question in Belgium, obviously next week, 100% race. Are we looking forward to that? Because obviously first time we're doing Belgium full length.
Yeah, absolutely. I like the 100% races because they offer a bit of a different strategy. Belgium's always been quite easy on the tyres, so we'll see if people can do maybe a one stop. That would be quite a tough ask, I think, but it's possible around a track where you don't really see much tyre wear. But then again, this game tyre wear is much higher, so we'll have to see. I'm looking forward to it though, because yeah, like has been said before, it offers a different kind of challenge, and we'll have to see what happens.
I share your excitement for next week. Looking forward to what should be a fantastic Grand Prix, which you can catch here on the Zach RC channel. Same time, same place on the 25th of August. So next week, the full-length Belgian Grand Prix. And that more or less do it for coverage for us here tonight. Thank you guys for showing up to post-race interviews. Fantastic Grand Prix overall to watch. Hope you've enjoyed it as much as I did. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe for more future audio content. Have a fantastic evening, and we shall see you all next time. Goodbye.